good evening. It is truly an honor for me to have been given the opportunity to welcome our distinguished guest and speaker for tonight, His Excellency Dr. Talal Abu-Ghazaleh. This is not the first time Dr. Talal Abu-Ghazaleh speaks at the Amman Global Center or at Columbia University. Just this past fall, he was invited by the Columbia Arab Students Association and Columbia Global Centers in New York to shed light on his vision for a knowledge-based Arab world. Dr. Abu-Ghazaleh's interests and accomplishments are certainly too many to enumerate in the few minutes I have this evening. He is not only a leading businessman in the region, but a thought leader, a mentor, and a philanthropist. Over the years, he has led numerous successful international and regional capacity building initiatives in the fields of education and scientific research, youth empowerment, wealth creation through ICT, intellectual property awareness, and job creation opportunities. Dr. Abu-Ghazaleh, as we all know, is the founder and chairman of the Talal Abu-Ghazaleh Group, which today has 140 companies with more than 100 offices worldwide. It is a leading provider of professional services, highly regarded for supporting Arab innovators through promoting intellectual property rights in the region. He has established close partnerships with the United Nations and the World Trade Organization, serving as Vice Chair of the UN Global Compact and Chair of the UN Global Alliance for ICT and Development. An avid knowledge seeker, Dr. Abu-Ghazaleh believes, and I quote, "In today's world, if you cannot export knowledge, you will not be able to achieve wealth. The path to wealth is knowledge creation." As part of his commitment to cultivate an informed and capable generation, he established the Talal Abu-Ghazaleh Graduate School of Business in 2006, and most recently, the Talal Abu-Ghazaleh University College for Innovation. Specializing in business and information technology, the college aims to support Arab innovators and promote intellectual property rights in Arab countries. Dr. Talal Abu-Ghazaleh is a keen believer in giving back. His organization allocates 50% of its annual profits in support of innovators, entrepreneurs, research centers, and educational institutes. He recently announced full MBA scholarships at the University College for Innovation for Syrian and Palestinian refugees living in camps across Jordan and Lebanon, as well as additional half-tuition merit scholarships for students residing in Jordan and the region. His Excellency Dr. Talal Abu-Ghazaleh is certainly a role model for current and upcoming generations. He climbed the ladder of a brilliant career with his determination, dedication, and vision, starting from a public accountant to a founder and chairman of many renowned and successful organizations. Your Excellency, we are honored to have you back with us at the Columbia Global Center to discuss some of the issues highlighted in your recent book, The Brave Knowledge World, and to hear your insights on how we need to leverage technology in order to meet the market demands of the global information society. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency Dr. Talal Abu-Ghazaleh.
After this generous introduction, I don't want you to get disappointed with what you get from me. I'll try to be up to the introduction that I received, and I would like to ask for the copyright to use it as my CV. It's very well written and generously written. I wanted many years ago, many years ago, to explore when are we going to get a third industrial revolution, and I'm talking in 1965. I had my first computer course in 1965. If there is any English person here, and that was at a village outside London called High Wycombe. And it was an IBM center. And the computer at that time was a machine the length of this whole stage, and it was called data processor. I was interested to know what is data processing, so I went to this introductory course. Immediately I realized that this is the beginning of something. It's not the product, the end product, or the final product. And that something was, as it turned out, the third industrial revolution, the information technology revolution. Being a good student myself, I was very enthusiastically following up on this revolution, the information technology revolution. And I want you to be clear about the distinction between information technology and knowledge. The information technology revolution, which we witnessed since the 60s until now, basically was the infrastructure for the fourth revolution, about which is my book. The book is about the fourth industrial revolution the world is going into. And I will try to make a distinction why this fourth revolution is very different from all the previous three revolutions which were similar in one thing. Just for the record, the first revolution was the agriculture, the second was industry, the third information technology, and the fourth is knowledge revolution. My book is about the knowledge revolution. It's not about information technology. It's about the knowledge creation and the knowledge creation impact on everything. And here I want to make also a very clear distinction. The three first previous revolutions were revolutions in their own sectors. So agriculture is agriculture. It did not impact my life, except in as much as I relate to agriculture. The Industrial Revolution, similarly. The effect was as much as it relates to my use of the industries that were created. Similarly, the information technology, it was about creating tools like the ones you use, gadgets, mobiles, tablets, etc., and about infrastructure related to information technology and telecommunication. And not coincidentally, but because of my interest in this revolution, the knowledge, the information technology revolution, Kofi Annan, the Secretary General of the United Nations, elected me as the co-chair for the UN ICT task force, which formulated the strategies for the development of information technology and telecommunication, which we have seen the results of since almost 3 decades. So let us now focus on what we mean by the knowledge revolution, the fourth industrial revolution. This is much more serious than any of the previous revolutions. It's much more impactful, and it's not sectorial. It doesn't relate to any sector. It has a cross effect on every sector and on everything. It has its effect on industry, on commerce, on government, on everything you want to relate to. But most importantly, on us as human beings. And this is a very major difference. The knowledge revolution is going to change not only things, but us. I became aware, like I was made aware by IBM in 1965, about 3 decades later, I was made aware by Bill Gates about the emergence or the coming of the fourth revolution. I was privileged to be with him on a panel 3 decades ago, 3 decades after 1965. I was privileged to share with him a panel, and we were discussing the future of information technology. And he threw a word which attracted my attention. I said, if you wanted to describe this century, not the decade, the century, until the end of 2000 and going in 2200, 2000 and going into 2100, the whole century, in 2 words or 3 words. He said artificial intelligence. I never heard the word artificial intelligence before then. So again, as a good student, I made it my mission to learn about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not a science, it's not a technology. It's much more than that. I cannot describe it because it is something, and I know many will disagree with me, which I love, I don't mind it. It is a something that will change everything. It will make some individuals more qualified and superior to other individuals, not financially, not intellectually, not in any way, but even in their own physiology and physical ability, in their lifespan, in everything. Through artificial intelligence, we are going to have better human beings. And that was very great concern for me, because at one point we will have inferior human beings and superior human beings, which is scary. So anybody who doesn't have the luck to be able to use or to benefit from artificial intelligence in biotechnology, in bioinformatics, will have to accept to be an inferior human being, which is very serious. Not inferior by education or by wealth, but as a person. So artificial intelligence will change everything. And I thought it, as a citizen of this country and as an Arab citizen, I wanted to write something as a warning or as a message of awareness to everybody. So I published this book in English and Arabic, which is available at no charge, of course, because this is not my business to write books and sell them. It's something I wanted to do as a national duty. So what are we talking about? In the book, I try to describe the impact of the knowledge revolution on every sector of life that I could think of. And at the end of the book, I tried to summarize by giving one day prediction of how we will live in the future, which is going to be completely different from the way we live today. We think that we are now living in a world where we have achieved great success and development, but the fact is our the children are being born now, in 30 years will be thinking of us as living in the Stone Age. This is as serious as this revolution is. And the tool or the infrastructure of this revolution is the information technology. So please don't think that I'm talking about information technology. Information technology is the vehicle, the tool, the infrastructure for the knowledge revolution. Knowledge revolution is focused about creation. The knowledge revolution is a revolution of creation. Creating everything, in everything, and for everything. And there is no end to that. If you can imagine 1,000 inventions a day, it's an understatement. And an invention by definition, and we know how to define an invention at Talal Abu-Ghazaleh organization, because we are the largest and the leading and the global organization for protection of intellectual property. An invention is any development on an existing thing, patent, trademark, what the copyright, whatever you want to call it, in a way that makes the new product after the development better, more useful, and commercially viable. So you don't have to invent a thing. Everything almost is being invented. But any development on the things that exist is an invention. An invention of a development that is useful and commercially viable. For example, I cannot say that I'm inventing sunglasses, which I use in the reverse way. I put the glass behind and I say I have invented new sunglasses. It doesn't work because that's not useful and it's not commercially viable. So coming back to the knowledge revolution, knowledge as of now does not mean reading papers and knowing who is the president of which country or what is the latest news in the world. Knowledge means creating knowledge. Knowledge means creating something that is new, whether it's a patent, a theory, a method, whatever. So the knowledge revolution is about knowledge creation. Unlike all the previous revolutions, which were the three, which were focused on a sector, as I said, information technology is about creating better information technology, tools, equipment, infrastructure, etc. That's sectorial. But knowledge revolution, and particularly artificial intelligence, cuts across everything that we use, we need, we live with, or live in. So, where are we heading? Here again comes the information technology revolution because it facilitates the speed of change. It's very important, the information, and as, again, to quote Bill Gates, what we have now is only the plumbings. This is the plumbing of the building. We're still not even up on the ground. So we have to realize that what is coming is nothing like what we have now today in everything. In our food, in our cars, in our mobile telephones, in the way we talk to each other, in the way many years ago I learned that it was predicted that in the year 2050 we will have what we call singularity. A time at which human beings and things become one community. We are now separate communities. We are a community as human beings. But this laptop is not part of our community. It's a tool. it was predicted that by 2050, at that year, we will be living with things, not just computers, things, doors, tables, microphones. We will be living like one community with them. They will respond to us, we will respond to them. As an example, being short, nobody has to adjust the mic. The mic adjusts itself to my height, and it says, "Hi, I know your height. You don't have to worry. I can adjust to you." Everything in life will be not automated, artificially, intelligently motioned or motivated. Everything. So I tried to take sector by sector, including education, which is the object of this great institution we are in today, and government, and etc., etc. So, where are we heading? I learned from my son Luai, who went to the Singularity University in the US, that the prediction now is in the year 2030 that we will reach singularity. That's amazing to me because it's a very short period, but the speed of everything has been accelerated by information technology and telecommunication. What used to take months and years now takes seconds. And I'm sure you can think of many examples of that. So, literally, we are heading to a world where we will be in a world of knowledge, sharing with computers and with everything our stories. You will come one morning to your office and your computer or laptop or telephone or whatever will tell you, "Lady, why did you change your hairstyle? You looked better yesterday." And by the way, things are going to be much more competent in being polite and courteous to ladies, because men are losing that talent at a great speed. So this will be made up by artificial intelligence. You will be talking to things more than you will be talking to each other. You can tell me that is bad or that is dangerous. You can say we are losing our human capabilities or social environment. You can say whatever you like. I'm telling you what is going to happen, and I have an answer if you want to argue against this revolution. But what I want to say, I didn't want to go through the book and make it boring. You can read the book, and by the time you read it, by the way, I want to warn you, it's probably going to be out of date. Because by tomorrow, there are new technologies, and of course I will be updating my book. But the speed of knowledge development is unbelievably, incredibly fast. And we have to realize that this is going to be the world we are going to live in. That's why before I close, I want to mention a few things which are related to this revolution, but not necessarily identical to the book. Maybe some of you heard me make an announcement warning that we are heading next year into a global economic recession. It's up to you to believe or not. But my statement is not based on a dream I had that night when I made the statement. And it's something that relates to my credibility, which is the only thing I have. I don't have wealth. I have a name, reputation, and credibility. I wouldn't put my credibility at stake if I wasn't sure that this is going to happen. The world is going into what is called stagflation, which means stagnation and inflation at the same time. And this is the worst combination in an economic recession, if you have both at the same time. You have stagnation, no income, no employment, and at the same time you have inflation. As a result of that, and many other factors which we don't have the time to discuss here, but I will be issuing a full report by next week on my prediction of this economic recession, and that this recession will lead into a World War III. This is something that will happen. And after World War III, there will be a new world order, which is the objective of the war. The objective of the war is for the two giants, the US and China, to force these two giants to sit together and talk about governance of the world. What they're talking about now is high, hello. Whatever you say, you hear about negotiations and agreements is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how to rule the world. The next phase of the world. Actually, it's been long. The last World War was in 1948. That's too long. We didn't have a world war since 1948. So, don't be surprised that we will be heading to a world war. What is going to happen after that world war? Wars always end with agreements, whether it's a local war, a regional war, or a world war. The whole world order that we live in today was the result of agreements forged after World War II. We will have a new world order, and we will need a Marshall Plan for the world. And this is the optimistic part. This Marshall Plan will start here in this part of the world. The world needs this region because if you want a Marshall Plan, George Marshall announced his plan because he wanted to rebuild Europe. The first beneficiary out of the war, this plan was the US. Of course it was helpful to Europe. But this is what helped the US become what it became after the World War. So next, what I'm trying to say is that the world needs to rebuild what has been destroyed. And the worst hit part of the world is this part of the world. And the best resource for rebuilding is here in this part of the world. So the resources of the region, particularly the Gulf countries, are to be used to rebuild what has been destroyed, and that is for the benefit of the whole world. It is in the interest of the whole world to have an economic revival. And it has to start here. It will not start anywhere else, according to my prediction. So, if we look at what is coming as bad, let's look at the end of the tunnel, and I think good things are going to come. And I even want to claim that after that we will have the Arab Renaissance. The European Renaissance came after the war. It takes people a shock, a strong shock, to realize that they need to wake up and do something better and something right. Not just ourselves and the world community. And if the two giants agree, we'll have a better world order. This is a leaderless world, as Brown, Prime Minister Brown of Britain said recently, he said, we live in a leaderless world. And being in a leaderless world is very unfortunate and very risky, because you don't know which way things are going or should go. So I am claiming that we will be going through all of this. In the meanwhile, I will be producing, this is our duty as a global organization, we will be producing a document of some checklists for governments and for companies, how to try to adjust or take preemptive measures in order to mitigate the impact of what I'm talking about, or even to take advantage. You should not forget that history tells us that in wars there are warlords, أغنياء الحرب. There are people who will lose, but there are people who will be lucky to take advantage and make money out of it. So it's up to us how to prepare ourselves for these shocks. And I'm going to send this document to every government in the Arab world as my first priority, and next to the rest of the world, because we are not a regional or local organization. We are a transnational organization. And many countries outside the Arab region are looking at what we are issuing in warning statements, because they realize that we are a think tank. At the same time, we are a very credible professional organization. We don't do things in order to have a media hit or publicity. In fact, many of the things get us negative publicity, which we don't mind. When we make, although my family members were shocked at the language used against me when I wanted this country to be more productive and I wanted our youth to be what they should be, because I love them. Well, they misunderstood me and they attacked me in the social media, which didn't bother me at all. It just made me feel sorry for them because they didn't understand my message. I was fighting for them, for their future, not for my future, for their future, which I will continue to do, and I don't mind after what I'm saying and what I will be saying to have similar negative social media. It's part of the knowledge revolution, and we have to accept this if we have a mission. If you have a mission, you have to realize missions are not accomplished like a picnic or a movie trip. It's something that you have to fight and something you have to try to fight for, not just fight. So, having said that, I would like to end on education. One of the battles I am going to fight this year is to kill education as it stands all over the world. I will be starting this on the 18th of this month at the American University of Beirut, where I'm a speaker. And the subject of my speech, do not graduate job seekers, graduate inventors. And I'll be doing the same speech, 4 days, the same subject, in Dubai at the Educational Summit on the 11th, on the 8th of this month, 8th of this month, and so on. I think educational institutions have to realize that it's not acceptable anymore to teach. They should change to become learning institutions and not teaching institutions. professors should tell their students how to study and not to teach them. How to tell them how to find knowledge and not to give it to them. And if they don't, and I said this at Columbia University in New York. Is it New York? It is in New York. I'm just kidding. Columbia University in New York, and at Harvard University, and at MIT in September. I told them, don't you see that you need to learn from the lesson of the dropouts? I can give you a list of names, not just Bill Gates, not just Zuckerberg, not just Steve Jobs, not, who never completed their university education. Because they realized that there is nothing any teacher in the world who can give to the students that is not on the internet. Why do you come and speak to me? I can find the information there. No, even Einstein. Anybody knows when Einstein died or was born? The great inventor and philosopher, Einstein, said, school failed me and I failed the school. The school failed me, I failed out school, and the school failed with me. Because the school wanted to tell me what I didn't need, and I couldn't accept from the school what they wanted me to know. So we both failed each other. That's Einstein. We have now to reassess our educational objective. Is it I graduated with high honors and distinction from the American University of Beirut because I wanted to get a good job. Just like everybody who graduates looking for a job. An inventor does not look for a job. He employs job seekers in his invention. And you can imagine how many thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions have been employed by inventors. So universities and schools should be the place where we can breed inventors and not job seekers. I stop here, and I thank you very much for your tolerance.
This is going to revolutionize education. What do you see? What was their reaction? Really, are we still going to go through a structured program of courses, exams, etc.? Is anything going to change? Do you see anything from that perspective?
Thank you very much. It's a very good question, and I'm humbly saying that after I criticized the current education, I had a standing ovation. This is the writing is on the wall. In the knowledge age, there is no knowledge that a professor possesses. When I used to go to school, I needed a teacher to tell me what I should know. Now, the student is more knowledgeable than the teacher. Not because he's better, but because he has the time luxury. He has nothing to do but to study. The professor or teacher has other things to do, including making sure that whatever his wife asked him to do and do shopping and does it rightly and that doesn't come back home and have a problem with his wife. He has social activities, students don't. The fact is, it is inevitable that education should become with an objective of creating innovators. Because I don't need you as professor to tell me anything. I need you to guide me in how to find what I want to find. And this is what we are doing at Talal Abu-Ghazaleh College for Innovation. You don't graduate with an exam or test. You graduate with an invention. At the end of the day, why do I want to educate you? So that you go and join me the job seekers, or so that you create knowledge. And let's also understand the 5 most important and most valuable companies in the world are knowledge inventions. Google, etc., the 5 of them, the 5 sisters, each of them is now about $1 trillion worth. To compare it to Jordan, we are 40 billion. And a company is 1 trillion, which is worth dozens of countries. And what is Google? It's an invention, a computer program. Nothing more. Google is a computer program. So is Facebook, so is Amazon. It's all an ICT invention. And imagine how much that contributes to the national wealth and to your wealth if I guide you as a teacher how to become Zuckerberg. And I want you to think that everybody has to be Zuckerberg or Bill Gates. Do you know the name Yan Kong? Nobody knows him. Yan Kong. Yan Kong is an Ukrainian who was until a year ago the waiter in a restaurant. And at night, without support from school, government, university, company, or anybody, invented something and sold it for $13 billion to Facebook. It's the program that you all use, WhatsApp. Invented by a waiter. Yahoo, which is now approximately $150 billion worth, was invented by 2 students who were not looking for a job, and they sat at their computers and invented the program. This is wealth. Future wealth will be created in the size we want. Of course, there will be wealth in doing any job like what I'm doing, which is the day-to-day job. But the wealth, the great wealth of a company or a person or a country comes from a knowledge creation only.
Dr. Ghazaleh, you talk about the speed of knowledge expansion. I just want to mention that there was a theory that was invented in the 80s by this guy called Fuller. He said that he was looking at the expansion of the knowledge, and he realized that in 1900, the knowledge was expanding every 100 years.
Who is he?
A guy called Fuller, I forgot his first name.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically the knowledge was expanding every 100 years. By the year 1945, the knowledge was expanding every 25 years. In the year 2000, the knowledge was expanding every 12 months. These days it's expected to be around a day, and in 2050 it's going to be almost every 12 hours. What I think what's slowing this curve down in our society is the culture. So basically, if I graduated from high school and went to my father saying that, hey, I have this brilliant idea, I'm going to drop out of college, I'm not going to continue my higher education, he's going to go crazy, basically. So what do you think we should do to deal with this cultural stigma that if you don't complete your degree, if you don't get higher education,
If you don't
get higher education, if you don't go to university, then you're going to be a failure to your family, to your community, to whatever. What do you think we should do to deal with this cultural stigma?
This is what I'm doing. قديش عمره زوكربيرج لما بدأ يخترع؟ 19 سنة؟
Yes.
Do you want to be a Zuckerberg, or do you want to look for a $350 job? It's up to you. We have to have the courage. Unfortunately, and I'm not asking for killing universities and colleges, although the president of MIT and of Harvard both said, unless universities and schools change, they will be dead. I am asking for change. I'm asking universities and colleges to become an incubator for invention and for innovation, and not a place where you look at I was addressing a major conference on this in Beirut 2 months ago. And I said, compare the advancement in anything to advancement in education in 150 years. How did schools and universities change over 150 years? Nothing. I can't see anything. They are a classroom where students sit, teacher. In fact, I can compare it للكتاب. الفرق بين الكتاب اللي كانوا يقعدوا على الأرض وفي واحد يدرس عليهم. Now we have كتاب, but it's sitting on a chair and a teacher or professor is lecturing. Where is mobile technology development, the car development, the satellite development, the medical development, everything developed in the world except the educational system. It's the only thing that I know of. It's amazing. Yani, everything has an intelligent critic of education said, in medicine, I examine you and give you the medicine you need. In education, I give the same education to everybody with different brains, different capabilities, different objectives. It's the same education, the same book, the same subject to everybody, but we are not similar. Our brains are not the same. Just like our genes are not the same, so that we need different medicine. It's amazing that this institution called education has been so resilient and so difficult to change, unlike anything in the world. So the process, it's as actually one very famous personality said, the tsunami will come and wipe out universities and schools that do not change. It's up to you. You can change, or you can wait to be wiped out.
And I was hoping to ask a question about employment, specifically how you see employment fitting in to what you said earlier. About
How do I see?
employment?
Absolutely.
How you see employment fitting in to the relationship between the third industrial revolution, which I think everyone agrees has definitely reduced overall employment in many ways, and kind of moving into the fourth industrial revolution.
Excellent.
We have more of a knowledge-based economy.
Excellent question. Excellent question. Employment, because many of the jobs that we have today will be eliminated. Like the job of the حامل البريد, ساعي البريد, the messenger, the mailman who used to carry on his back the letters and deliver them to schools, this job disappeared. But it doesn't mean that the man disappeared. He's doing something else. So the change will be in employment. There will be a change in the job that you're doing. This revolution will create more jobs than it will eliminate. And why? And I want to give one evidence, at least one. The largest growth in employment is in knowledge companies. Car makers are not employing as many as Google and Amazon and so on are doing. It's very simple. People are moving from doing hand work which can be done either by robots or by artificial intelligence, other artificial intelligence machines, and will move to tech jobs rather than hand or manual jobs. But there will be more employment and better employment and more respectable employment for me as a person, instead of having me carry the load or clean the floor. Now robots can do that, and the robots can clean the floor for me instead of me cleaning the floor, and so that I can do something more respectful and more productive.
So you said while closing your speech about schools and educational institutes and how we need to make inventions to graduate. I think employees are needed. Like if you have a problem, a mathematical problem or wiping the floor, as you just said, a machine will do it for you. Like if the machine breaks, someone needs to fix it. That's the thing. And about artificial intelligence, the thing is the fourth revolution, the knowledge revolution. I think it wouldn't be so near in a period of time because our humanity's stupidness. Just as I wrote on my senior jacket coat, artificial intelligence is no match with human stupidity. That's our problem right now in this era. And that's our educational problem, as you just said. I always stand not against, but not also with our educational process. It's not just as it must be. There's a lot of changes that have to be. There's a lot of changes that have to be done, not only in the way, but also in our curriculum. And that's all I say.
I talked about change in everything. Obviously, I'm not asking for closure of universities, but I'm asking, for example, for closure of campuses. Why do you need, according to Jordanian law, 120 acres to get a license to have a university? Why? What? When education, future education and current education, current real education is online. And I haven't seen, you go visit any of the universities, the major universities with huge campuses, you will not find any student studying in the campus. He's either on the stair with his laptop or in his room or in a laboratory or in a library. So change in everything. I didn't even mention the word curriculum because I don't think there should be any curriculum. There should not be any curriculum. Not change curriculum, you have to kill curriculum. You have to have somebody who's interested in becoming a technician for repairing a computer or a machine, as you said. But that's innovation. That's teaching technology. And not teaching, that teaching how to become a tech person. That's the job of the school and of the teacher. How to transform you from an absorber of information. And by the way, I'm not talking about something which will happen in 10 or 20 years. Look at Finland. Please study the Finland process. Because Finland, by the way, is the country that is changing world education. It's not the US, it's not Britain, it's not China. They are already changed. They have already changed. So I'm talking about, is your phone, mobile phone now, like the phone which I used to use with the trunk operator of 100 years ago? It has changed. Changed completely in everything, not just.
So I want to ask two things about two, I feel like, maybe under-neglected aspects. I read the back of your book, The Future, A Day in the Life of the Future, and my mind went to two things. Is one, economically underprivileged people, which poverty is now reaching 2 billion people, and on the other end, with job creation going towards tech companies and the elimination of low-wage, low-skill jobs, what happens to people more interested in the social sciences that don't fit well into the tech world? Thank you.
Problem when we had the industrial or agricultural revolution, did every citizen of the world benefit from it? No. In fact, I'm sorry, I keep going to Bill Gates. Again, on the panel which we shared, he was asked, but isn't this going to ruin and destroy our social fabric, our human feelings? He said, were we better human beings when we were in caves? When we were cannibals eating each other? This has nothing to do with technology. being human, being sociable, being a family person. I was sitting once with my grandchildren, and I have one of them here. At lunch every Friday, I make an effort to enjoy their company if I'm in town. And we were talking about something, so I looked at the children and I said, why don't you join the discussion? Because they were all at the iPads or whatever. They said, we are. They were discussing what we were discussing because they had the advantage of living in two worlds, the real world and the virtual world. They were listening to us and looking at us, and they were virtually discussing us. This is the privilege that you and the future generations will live in. You will still have life. I was addressing at Shuman, I was speaking at Shuman 2 years ago. I spoke after that again, but at that time, one lady came and asked to speak, and she was a highly educated person. She said, but we used to go to college to meet our future husbands. You're killing our opportunity for fighting the man of the future if you want to kill campuses and kill classes. I said, no, I want to enhance it. In the class, you have only 20 or 30 people to choose from. In the world I'm talking about, you have the Canadian, you have the Japanese, you have the Chinese, you have the American. You can choose. You have everybody, every kind of race. So I'm broadening your choice and not eliminating it. You have to think of the fact that this world is coming. Now, again, and I want, this is because this question dictates if I mention something. Unfortunately, and I have to admit, everything that has been done in all the three revolutions and the fourth revolution, the knowledge revolution, is for selfish reasons. Apple became what it became because they charge 50% margin, and I'm giving them only as a name. Everybody is the same. I'm not accusing Apple, Siemens, whatever, Huawei, all of them are the same. Because they wanted to make money, and that's how they became a trillion company. $1 trillion company. How did they become? God gave them that gift. They made it out of you and you and you and me. It is believed, and this is a discussion again I shared with Bill Gates, that at the end of this century, which means in 80 years, we will mature, not me, humanity. Humanity will mature to the point that they will start thinking that what we should do should not be for our personal advantage, but should be for humanity. And we will move to the revolution number 5, which he called the wisdom revolution. People will be inventing things wisely for better human beings, for better life, for fairer life, for a human feeling, and not for me to become more powerful, more rich and more influential. So far, everything is for profit, for success, for leadership. My own, it's me. In the wisdom age, we will start thinking of doing things wisely for the benefit of humanity.
Inspiration. My name is Ayad Abbas from Welfare Together for Training and Development. Just to answer your question, Einstein was born on the 16th of March 1879 and he died on the 16th of April 1955. You have a lot of faith in the Arab world and the Arab people.
Absolutely.
And I do appreciate that. I'm one of them. Unfortunately, the signs, I don't see that at all. Maybe we are, a few days ago there was an analysis about the education system in our world, and the 5 countries that were not on the list were Arab countries. One of them was Iraq. which was in 1979. It was credited as one of the top countries in education and eradicated illiteracy. And now it's one of the countries that is done. So where is that faith coming from? And I'd love to hear that from you. Thank you.
Thank you for a long time. I learned this from a wise man called Charles de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle used to have history books on his desk and maps all over the walls. And he used to say, the future is governed by history and geography. If you want to predict the future, you have to know the history and the geography of what you are looking at. By geography and history, this has been one and is one of the greatest regions of the world. We have to remember that the Arab world governed the world and led the world civilizations for 5 centuries. This is always ignored. Nobody talks except about how bad things are, how we are in trouble in every aspect, which is true. What you said is absolutely correct. But it's also correct that history and geography can change things. And I claim that this great nation, and I am very proud of being an Arab, and I am very proud of the Arab nation, has been subjected to a lot of unfairness. Iraq was destroyed, literally. And we know that. And we don't want to get into political explanations of why and who did it. But as an accountant, I know that the first books of accounting were invented in Iraq, in بالرافدين. في منطقة الرافدين in Iraq were the first records of accounting records. And so on. Damascus is the oldest city as a capital in the world. Existing capital, the oldest existing capital in the world. And so on. We can spend the evening talking about geography and history in this part of the world. Why I'm optimistic is because, as I said, at the end of the Third World War, the world needs a revival, an economic revival. And it becomes their interest, not our interest only. It becomes in their interest that we have this revival, and that revival needs the wealth of this region, where you have more than 50% of the oil of the world, more than 50% of the gas of the world, more than, and where you have the greatest destruction in the world. So, I believe that at one point, the needs of this region and the needs of the world come together for a better future.
My name is Linda, and I'm a third-year student at Duke University in the U.S. But I'm from China, so I've seen the power of knowledge creation in a very short period of time. My question is about power dynamics. So, what happens when knowledge creation and the change?
What happened?
When knowledge creation, entrepreneurship, and the change that you've been referring to this time comes in conflict with those in power, or even threatens the regime itself?
I claim that the war is about knowledge superiority between the US and China. One of the reasons, and I have this in my published report, which you can get a copy of, the two giants are fighting not only in military power, not in economic power, but I think more importantly in technology. This knowledge revolution that is happening is one of the causes of what we are going to head into. And it is the fight over leadership, knowledge leadership, tech leadership of the world, which, of course, as you know, and I know, we have 6 offices in China. And I'm very honored that I have received the very exceptional award from the President of China for promoting Chinese-Arab relations. But also the same with the Western world and with the United States of America. I have the same relationship with every country in the world, particularly the US, with whom I'm honored that tomorrow, the US Embassy is giving a dinner in my honor for my relationship with the United States of America. I'm not against the United States. All I'm saying is the 2 giants are competing in technology, in information technology. Technology has become a bad word, which people think. That's why I prefer to use the word knowledge, because technology means machines and automations and so on. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about creation, innovation. Innovation. They are fighting about innovation, who can innovate more, better, and cheaper. And this is one of the reasons the world is heading in the direction I was explaining. It is the problem, the main problem.